OpenAI just slammed the brakes on Sora and reined in its massive Stargate data center plan. A huge strategic pivot that tells us a lot about where AI is actually headed. Meanwhile, Anthropic's Claude is writing 80% of its own production code, and Google DeepMind is pouring $75 million into AI tools for filmmakers. We'll unpack what these shifts mean for you, the builder, right now. No BS AI briefing brought to you by Proactive AI. Welcome back. I'm your host, Vikash, and this is where builders get straightforward AI news without the fluff. Alright, let's dive into some high signal items that hit my radar this week. First up, a fascinating partnership from Google. Google DeepMind and A24 are partnering on AI filmmaking tools. The source here is the Google DeepMind blog from June 22nd. What happened is DeepMind, Google's big AI research arm, has launched a first-of-its-kind research partnership with A24, that indie film studio known for really unique, high-quality films like Everything Everywhere All at Once and Hereditary. DeepMind is actually backing this collaboration with a substantial $75 million investment. The goal? To co-develop AI tools designed specifically for filmmakers, aiming to enhance their creative workflows and ultimately improve storytelling. Insights they gain from this deep collaboration aren't just staying within the partnership either, they'll feed back into Google's broader AI ecosystem. For builders like us, this matters because it clearly signals a shift toward highly domain specific creator driven tools. We're moving beyond general purpose APIs to AI that really embeds itself deeply into professional workflows. It also sets a pretty strong template for how other creative industries might approach AI, thinking of AI as a co-creator, not just a service you call. And look, $75 million from DeepMind for a partnership like this shows a serious capital commitment to professional grade creative markets. It's not just a small grant, it's a big bet. Next, we've got a massive shift from OpenAI. They're reportedly pivoting to a super app strategy, halting development on their Sora video model and scaling back the ambitious Stargate data center project. This news broke in Fortune on June 22nd. From what we're hearing, OpenAI is restructuring ChatGPT, aiming to transform it into a more unified, persistent, and agent-based super app that integrates ChatGPT, Codex, and possibly other capabilities. And in a really surprising move, they've apparently halted development on Sora, their much hyped video generation model, and are scaling back those massive Stargate data center projects we've been hearing about. The driving force behind this seems to be a desire to showcase broader utility and a more cohesive product ahead of a potential IPO. So why does this matter for builders? Well, it fundamentally shifts the emphasis from raw general purpose models to persistent task-oriented agents as the primary user interface. If you're building on OpenAI's stack, you should expect to see a consolidation around these integrated platforms. You'll need to start designing for agent workflows, not just stateless chat interactions. And this scaling back of Sora and Stargate, that could open up significant space for specialists in video generation and infrastructure if OpenAI isn't chasing those hard anymore. Also, some important news in the infrastructure space. Micron and Anthropic are partnering on AI memory, with Micron also making a strategic investment in Anthropic's Series H funding round. The New Money reported this on June 22nd. The core of the partnership involves Micron and Anthropic co-designing specialized memory and storage subsystems specifically for Anthropic's very demanding AI infrastructure. On top of that, Micron has made a strategic equity investment in Anthropic's staggering $65 billion Series H round. And to round it out, Micron is also adopting Claude, Anthropic's flagship AI model, across its own internal operations. As builders, this really underscores how hardware and software co-design is becoming absolutely critical. Performance bottlenecks are increasingly moving to memory and data movement, not just raw compute. This kind of deep integration reinforces the sheer capital intensity required at the frontier of AI development, pushing us to view the entire stack end to end, from the silicon all the way up to the application. It also hints that tighter collaborative integrations between AI labs and hardware vendors will increasingly shape our future infrastructure choices. Finally, a mind bending story that feels almost sci fi. AI building AI, a report from Business Standard on June 22nd claims that over 80% of Anthropic's production code is now written by Claude. This isn't just code generation. The article suggests that AI agents are designing experiments for AI safety research. Systems like Alpha Evolve and something they're calling AI Scientist are reportedly generating new algorithms and even drafting academic papers. It means that recursive self improvement, which has been a theoretical concept, is rapidly moving into practical application within a frontier AI lab. For us builders, this means several things. First, it's going to accelerate iteration cycles to an unprecedented degree. This also means engineering teams are going to have to adopt robust oversight and verification processes for AI authored code. Your role might shift from writing every line to guiding, validating, and curating what the AI produces. And critically, it alters competitive timelines. If AI can build AI, the rate of capability growth for those who master this could compound incredibly fast. Pretty wild, isn't it? Alright, for our deep dive today, there's one story that really stands out as a potential tectonic shift, and that's OpenAI's reported pivot to a super app strategy paired with the news that they're halting Sora and scaling back the Stargate project. This isn't just a minor product update, it's a fundamental reorientation of their entire business. What happened, in simple terms, is OpenAI, the company that kicked off this modern AI boom with ChatGPT, is reportedly changing its core focus. Up until now, their trajectory has been very much model first, build the best underlying AI models and offer them via APIs and a somewhat stateless chat interface. Projects like Sora, their incredibly impressive text to video model, and Stargate, their plan for a multi-billion-dollar hyperscale data center, pointed to an expansion across modalities and a raw infrastructure. But now they're reportedly restructuring ChatGPT into this unified, persistent, agent-based super app. That means less emphasis on just the raw model capabilities and much more on an integrated, remembered experience, almost like a personal AI assistant that lives across your digital life. This pivot is happening as OpenAI is gearing up for a potential IPO, and they need to show durable, integrated utility beyond just mind-blowing tech demos. Why does this matter right now for us, the builders? Well, it signals a massive platform-centric turn in the AI ecosystem. We're moving from a world where everyone tries to build a model to a world where a few dominant players are trying to build the platform. If OpenAI succeeds in creating a sticky, persistent, agent-based super app, it fundamentally changes how users interact with AI and how developers build on top of it. It's less about a single API call and more about integrating into a broader agent-orchestrated workflow. This also has huge implications for data. A persistent agent learns about you, and that data becomes incredibly valuable, creating potential lock-in effects. So, who should really care about this? Subodaj founders you absolutely need to pay attention. If your startup is building general purpose AI applications, you might suddenly find yourself competing directly with OpenAI's integrated offering. Your focus should probably shift even harder towards vertical specialized agents or tools that genuinely augment existing agent workflows rather than trying to build another general chatbot. So, in product managers, you need to start thinking about agent workflows and user memory. How does your product integrate into a user's persistent AI experience? Is your product designed for stateless interactions, or can it leverage and contribute to a user's long-term AI context? Engineering leaders, this impacts your architectural decisions. Do you design for an ecosystem of smaller, composable agents or for integration into a dominant platform? The underlying infrastructure choices matter. especially with OpenAI reportedly pulling back from its own hyperscale data center bets, potentially opening up space for other cloud providers or specialized infra companies, they indie hackers. This could be an opportunity to build highly specialized agent skills or micro agents that plug into these larger platforms, much like individual apps in a mobile app store. You don't need to build the whole OS, just a killer feature. How would I think about this as a builder? I'd imagine the future interface not as a command line or a simple chat box, but as a proactive, remembered digital assistant that already knows my preferences, my context, and my goals. Think of it like a smart personal assistant that doesn't forget your previous conversations or preferences the moment you close the tab. For a startup, this means you need to define your niche even more sharply. Don't try to out super app OpenAI. Instead, identify specific underserved workflows where a deeply specialized agent can add exponential value. For example, a tax agent that specializes only in Indian tax law, leveraging the general AI for foundational reasoning but adding specific domain expert memory and tools. The pullback from Stargate also suggests that while raw compute is important, the value might be accruing higher up the stack at the application and agent orchestration layer. Rhetorical question. Is it time to reevaluate your infra strategy too? My no BS take here is this: OpenAI's shift is a massive de risking move for them, aiming for product stickiness and defensibility ahead of an IPO. It's real. The super app idea itself has had mixed success in Western markets historically, so there's execution risk. We need to watch carefully for potential antitrust issues or interoperability scrutiny if a single dominant interface emerges. And the halt on Sora is a clear signal that video generation, while impressive, isn't OpenAI's primary strategic focus for the immediate future. That might be a signal to other players in that space to accelerate. This isn't just marketing hype, it's a strategic pivot with tangible implications for everyone building in AI. If you want one practical takeaway from today's episode, especially in light of OpenAI's pivot towards persistent agents, here it is. Experiment. Prototype a persistent agent for one recurring team workflow in your own team. Here's how to try it in under 60 minutes. 1. Identify a workflow. Pick a simple, repetitive internal task that involves text, like drafting internal meeting summaries, triaging support tickets, or generating initial drafts for a specific type of internal communication, e.g., weekly status updates. 2. Set up an assistant Shela. Use an existing assistant's API from OpenAI, Anthropic, or even a local open source model like Llama with a simple Flask backend. The key is to add a basic database. Even a flat file JSON or a simple SQLite database will do to store conversational history and user specific preferences. This is your memory. 3. Prompt for persistence and personality. Craft a system prompt for your agent that gives it a personality and instructs it to remember past interactions related to this specific workflow. For example, if it's drafting meeting summaries, tell it to remember key decisions and action items from previous meetings and reference them if relevant. 4. Test and measure. Have your team use this prototype for a week. Track simple metrics like time saved per task or number of follow-up questions needed. Did it actually reduce friction? Did the persistence make it more useful over time? Why is this specific experiment worth your time right now? Because if OpenAI, a leader in foundational models, is pivoting hard to persistent agents, it means they see this as the next battleground for user value. By prototyping an agent with memory today, you're not just playing with a new API, you're developing an intuition for how these agentic systems actually deliver value and, crucially, what the practical challenges are around state management, context windows, and user trust. It helps you design for the future rather than just reacting to it. That's it for today's No BS AI briefing. If this helped, follow the show in your podcast app and share it with one builder you know. And if you've got questions or topics you want covered, connect with me on LinkedIn and send them over. See you in the next briefing.